Welcome to Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I'm your host, Karen Seltz. Tonight's episode is titled In Your Face Rejection, Living Life Courageously. And I think this is such a perfect topic for anybody who's ever struggled with that people pleasing or not wanting to be rejected or fear of failure, fear of putting yourself out there, fear of being authentic and doing the hard things, asking the hard questions. And I'm so excited to tackle this. So many years ago, I was doing research on this topic and I saw this TED talk called What I Learned from the 100 Days of Rejection Challenge. And it's a Chinese gentleman named Jia Zhang. And he was so afraid of rejection that he was failing in his business as an entrepreneur because he was afraid to ask people for the sale or ask investors for capital. So he's like, I've got to overcome this fear. So he found this little game. I think it was Canadian, like a card game or something. And it was called the 100 Days of Rejection Challenge. And he decided to take this on. And I learned so much from this gentleman. He filmed it. And I don't know if you've seen it or not, but in his first challenge was ask a stranger to borrow $100. And he went up to a security guard and he said, can I borrow $100? And the guy's like, no. And he's like, okay, thank you. And he like ran away as fast as he could. And he didn't notice until he got home and reviewed the video that the security guard was calling after him, wait, why do you need it? So at that point, he made this agreement with himself to stay in it and to answer the question, because. Like, why do you need it? Because. So, and he did research or found research that showed that people are, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's something like 40% more likely to say yes if you give them a reason, which was interesting, right? So he would see what else he could get. He would kind of negotiate. He might not get the thing he wanted, but he might get something that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And he certainly got a boost to his confidence, because I heard Mel Robbins say today, confidence is a skill. You can learn it. And how do you learn it? Well, one of the ways is stretching outside your comfort zone by doing things that scare the crap out of you or things that scare you a little bit. So one of the things that, from a spiritual perspective, I strongly believe is that failure is not even remotely possible. Now, why is that? Why is failure not possible? Because all events are neutral. And it's the voice of the ego that tells us that our results determine our worthiness, when that is also just a lie. Our results have nothing to do with us as individuals. So if you look at, say you set a goal and you think about, well, what happens if I don't meet that goal? What's the story you're going to tell yourself? How are you going to feel? So if I am launching a group program and I want 20 people in it, if I get 19, how am I going to feel? Well, it depends. Like, I can feel like, wow, that's fantastic. I have 19 people I get to serve. Or I can look at it like, gosh, I messed up. I didn't hit my goal. And I could make that mean something about me. And if I am likely to do that, if I'm likely to make it mean that I'm not enough or I'm a failure, then how will I behave? Will I take the courageous action steps to get me out there to serve those 19 people? Or will I self-sabotage? Will I say, well, it's not going to work anyway. I might as well not shoot that video because it's scaring me. I can't do it properly. So I'm just going to sit back and do nothing. So when you think about even the whole concept of rejection, we reject ourselves at such a fundamental level before other people can reject us. And I did this for years, and I don't know if you can relate or not, but I was so afraid of doing things incorrectly or, imperfectly, really, that I would do nothing until I was positive it was perfect, which was never. I mean, how can you be positive it's going to be perfect? We're human beings. Life happens. Technology happens. I mean, all kinds of things. You could get a flat tire. I don't know. It depends, right? Your kid could get sick on a day of your big presentation. I mean, there are so many variables, and all we can do is our best. We get to practice, though, leaning into our courage. And that is my ask of you guys is, what are the things that really scare you? And what is the story you make up about what's going to happen? So if your worst case scenario happens, what do you make that mean about you? It's really fascinating. If you just write it down and you look at it, it makes absolutely no sense. So I was meeting with a client one time, and I had her do this list of what her fears were. And one of them was being unattractive, which you could understand, right? As a woman in any society, there's a lot of pressure on us to be attractive. So then we follow it down. So if I'm attractive, or if I'm unattractive, it means blah, blah, blah. Nobody will love me. I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to die alone, whatever. A little bit further down the list, not very much further, was a fear of being attractive. So she had a fear of being unattractive and a fear of being attractive. And when it boiled down to the last thing, it was the same thing, like nobody's going to love me. I'm like, do you see, like when we boil these things down to their basic essences, they make absolutely no sense. But our minds will grab onto those and use them as an excuse to not take action. So I like to play with this stuff. Like, okay, well, if if I'm unattractive, I'm going to die alone. If I'm attractive, I'm going to die alone. So I might as well not worry about it. I might as well have some fun. I might as well dress the way I want. I might as well do my hair the way that I like it and not worry about what other people think. And I can use those to satiate my logical mind. These things that, if you boil them down to the essences, one of the things that I love to look at is, when it comes to rejection, is, what am I really afraid of? What am I really afraid of? Again, what am I making it mean about myself? And what's one action I can take to challenge that belief? Because do I want to continue believing, for example, that I'm not enough? No, not really. I really don't. I would much rather believe that I'm plenty. I'm just enough. I'm exactly the right size, the right amount of whatever it is that the situation calls for. And we get to play with that, right? So I invite you to look up Zhajang. Let's see if I can spell it. Jia. Just look up 100 Days of Rejection. You'll find him that way. That's the easiest way to do it. Look him up, and there are 100 YouTube videos of the dares he did, and he made it a game. He was trying to get rejected. So if you look at it that way, you really can't fail. So if I get rejected, yeah, I met my objective. If you don't get rejected, well, you learned how to not get rejected that day, or you learned something. There's always a lesson. So just depending on your perspective, you could either be rejected, or you could be a failure, or you could be a success. And it's all your perspective. What would it be like if you asked yourself the question, what else is possible here? What's another way I could look at this situation? I love, when I'm doing something challenging, I love to have a support team. Like if I'm really, really scared, I like to do things right away. I don't like to sit. And I have an example of this. I used to be really afraid of heights when it came to jumping off of things, like a cliff into water. I live in Arizona, and there are lots of these in Sedona and all kinds of places. There are these very high cliffs that people would jump into. I'd be like, heck no, I'm not doing that. And you see people go up there and they're like, and they're hyperventilating, and they're not doing themselves any favors by staying up there. They're getting so scared. And finally, they either jump or they come down, but they just sent their bodies into a tailspin for 20 minutes. And I did that the first couple times I jumped from someplace high. I did the same thing. I would just like look over, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to hit the bottom. I'm going to break my leg, all the things, right? We go through those scenarios. The last few times I just get up there and I go to the edge and I go, woohoo, and I jump and I just enjoy the ride. I don't kill myself on the way down or before I even jump. So if there's something really scary for you, my best advice, not that you asked for it, is to just do it. Do the Nike thing, do it right away. Within 20 minutes, if you can, within an hour, if 20 minutes is too long. I went to this business conference one time before I'd ever been on video. And during one of the commercials, one of the breaks, it was live. The owner of this company said, I want you to go do a Facebook Live about whatever you want. Talk about what you're passionate about. Talk about your family. Talk about whatever you want. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do live video. That's insane. And I was scared because I was a big time perfectionist at the time, but I did it. I went and I just talked and I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to embrace that. I'm going to look stupid. That's okay. And I did that live. And then after that, I made a commitment to do a live every weekday morning for a month. I'm like, okay, well, I can do this. And I didn't commit to a certain length of time as for the video. Like it could have been 2 minutes, it could have been 20 minutes. I was just consistently showing up live on video every weekday for a month, which turned into 3 months because I was having fun with it. So we never know what we're going to like. And now I have a live TV show, right? Like you follow the progression. And what I wanted back then as a new coach was to make an impact in people's lives, to shift their perspectives, to give them some hope, some examples of what it looks like to overcome a shit ton of obstacles, because I did that. And I was as scared as anybody of rejection. And I'm going to give you another example. So for 20 years or so, I was in corporate sales. And somewhere along the line, I didn't start out this way, but I developed a huge fear of the telephone. So making appointments was impossible for me. I was so scared. I really thought I was going to die. And, I traced it back to some early childhood trauma of really reading my environment, not feeling safe, and reading people's faces to change my behavior, to stay safe so I didn't get hit. And on the phone, guess what? Back then, I couldn't see people's faces. So I didn't know if I was safe and I thought I was in danger. So I would do in-person cold calls. Like I would show up at businesses without an appointment, which is so much harder for almost everybody. And it made no sense because I wasted a lot of time, a lot of gas, a lot of energy. Whereas I could have just made appointments on the phone and shown up and people would have been there, but I couldn't do that. So it took what it took. I did trauma release to remove that obstacle, but I was so afraid of rejection that I didn't do the thing. So now what I take from that is when I finally got the guts to call somebody on the phone, it didn't matter really if they rejected me because they weren't rejecting me. They didn't know me. If it was a cold call, how are they rejecting me? They don't even know me. So what I want to say to you is, what are the things that you're holding yourself back from? What are the things you really, really want to do, but haven't done them yet? And it could be fear of anything. It's usually fear. And fear can masquerade as logic. So what are the things you really want to do that you're holding yourself back from? Make a list of those and start ticking them off like a bucket list. Because how fun will it be when you can say to yourself, oh my gosh, I just overcame my biggest fear. And it could be something like flying that some people aren't afraid of. And we all don't have the same fears. I do karaoke sober, and I have my entire life. And people don't get that. They're like, wait, I got to have a couple drinks before I can sing. And I'm not great. I'm okay. I'm not great. So it's just a matter of stretching a little bit outside your comfort zone and feeling good about it, celebrating it. No matter what the outcome is, you get to celebrate that you did it. So if you look at everything as I did it or I didn't do it, anytime you just do the thing, it's a win. And you get to celebrate that and you get to have fun with it. Because I tell you, like probably 5, 10 years ago, at least 10 years ago, I had a very small comfort zone. There were very few things I would do because I was so afraid of looking stupid and so afraid of being rejected, which is, it's really interesting now when I look at it, because the things that people would have rejected me for wouldn't have even been me because I was so fake. I was so surface. I was such a people pleaser that I didn't act from authenticity. I didn't act the way that I really wanted to, but I pretended I was, but everybody could see through it. So what do you think people are rejecting? Is it you? Probably not. I mean, if you know anything about projection, we can't see anything outside of ourselves. So if somebody seemingly rejects you, they're really rejecting a part of themselves that they don't want to acknowledge yet. And the more they're rejecting these parts of themselves, the more they're going to project it out here onto you and me and everybody else. So really, there is no part of you that is unlovable, that is rejection worthy, really. And even, I'm going to give you an example of a relationship. When I'm in a relationship, a romantic relationship, and I can tell things are no longer in alignment, am I rejecting the person if I end it? I don't see it that way. I see like there's a miss, like we're not in alignment anymore. I thought we're getting to know each other. And when certain things become apparent, it's like, no, it's just a no. No, this is not in alignment. And that's what I say to people when I end relationships. I'm like, this is not in alignment for me. And it's really not personal. It's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole or something. It's just, no matter how much you slam it or, try to manipulate it or massage it, it doesn't fit. So at my age, I've learned that, and I don't force things anymore. I just allow them to ebb and flow like the tide coming in. And it's the same with any challenge that's before me or before you. You get to choose. You are 100% at choice all the time. And one of the things that really supports me in that is being 100% responsible for everything, knowing that whatever is in front of me, I created. And if it is an idea that I have, an idea for a project or something, I know that it was put there by God, by the divine. It wouldn't be there. And I know that it's possible for me, or else it wouldn't be there. I would not have gotten the idea unless it were possible for me to carry it out. It's the same for you. You would not have received certain downloads, certain information, certain ideas, unless you had everything you needed right now to carry it out. Now, you can run from that, and I did for many years. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, we're ready when we're ready. Or you could just say, oh my gosh, this scares the crap out of me, and I'm going to do it anyway. So what do you choose? What do you choose? And when I look at everything that I have in my life right now, if there's something I don't like and I'm responsible, if I say, oh my gosh, I created this and it is good. It is good. And now I'm done with it. It's like a child putting down the toy and picking up a book, saying, oh, I'm done with that toy now. I'm ready to create something else. What do I want next? And we get to choose again. And I choose to play. I choose to put myself out there. I choose to be in a vulnerable place where people can reject me. Because when I share authentically from my heart, it's sometimes scary, but it feels so good. It feels so good. That is in alignment with my soul's purpose, is to share vulnerably, authentically from the heart. And sometimes it comes out in ways that my human self would say, oh my gosh, that sounds harsh, but I don't know. And if I get to the place where I don't know what anything means or what anything is for, and I accept that as reality, I'm a channel, and you can get there too, right? We've all had these moments where it felt like somebody was speaking through us, something that somebody else needed to hear. And when that person received it, you could feel their heart opening. You could feel their mind just relaxing. And you're like, wow, where'd that come from? Was that me? Well, that is your highest self, God, the divine, speaking through you. And I often say the prayer, speak through me, get me out of the way. Because the moment I have an opinion, if I'm dealing with a person, the moment I have an opinion, I know for a fact my ego has slipped in and has taken over the wheel. So when that happens, I will often say, excuse me a second, I get to reground because I have an opinion. And I just do it again, like, okay, get me out of the way, speak through me. And when that happens, what comes through, no matter what it sounds like to my human ear, is perfect for that person. And I trust it and I feel good about it. And I'm not attached to how they respond. Because if they're like, and then they come back to center and they get some kind of opening, some kind of epiphany, some kind of aha, I know that I've done my job by being open, by being a conduit for the divine. And in that, it doesn't matter what they say. There is no rejection possible. It's just not possible. So that's another trick you can use, is like whenever you find yourself getting heated or having an opinion on what somebody should do or how they should react, just take a breath and say that prayer, like, get me out of the way, speak through me. Because I've never had that fail where, when I found myself having an opinion where I was being right about something and I said that prayer, then it's whatever comes through is exactly for that person. And I might not even remember what I said. So if you've ever had those moments, just go back to those. And it is not possible for you to be rejected because it's not really you. It's something through you. So to recap, I believe strongly rejection is not even remotely possible because all events are neutral. And we're still human beings. We are always going to be scared if we're playing a big game. If we're sitting back, hiding, doing the same thing day in, day out, playing it safe, yeah, we're going to avoid rejection. We're also going to avoid feeling authentic, feeling fulfilled, knowing that we matter, that we make a difference in the world, that we're living our soul's purpose. And we can do that for as long as we want. And I believe that's what leads to hopelessness, depression, despair, anger, frustration, anxiety. Whereas if we're living authentically, if we're taking risks, we're like, oh my God, I'm so scared to do this, and I'm going to do it anyway. Do you have my back? You call your friend. You're like, you got my back. I'm going to do this thing. Are you there for me? Just knowing someone's there energetically to hold space, it really helps. So play a big game. And remember the Brene Brown quote. It's really, are you going to take advice from people that are sitting on the sidelines watching you play? Or are you going to listen to the people that are in the game, that are playing? Because the people that are criticizing me, for example, they're not playing the game. They're sitting on the sidelines criticizing everybody. I'm like, screw that. I don't give a shit what they think. I don't. People that are playing, they'll have something constructive to say. Those are my people. And I want you to be among them. So let's play a big game. Let's go out and get rejected. It'll be fun. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week right here on Irresistible You. Mwah.